Welcome back to Bricks and Trips. It's Winter Village time, part 3. I can't wait to show you how much progress there's been since the last update. It is officially Christmas in the Bricks and Trips household. I could not be happier. I love this time of year. Anybody who says that the 1st of December is an appropriate date for a tree to come out is just objectively wrong. Shops have had their trees up for about 2.5 months by this point, so I am certainly allowed to do what I like. It's been a long week since the last update, and there has been a lot of work going on over here. And honestly, I cannot contain myself at how excited I am. Up first, we have finished off the 3 broomsticks. It gives such great height in this corner of the village. I think it looks absolutely stunning. And honestly, it's so much bigger than I thought it was going to be. When I built up the first half of it in the last video, I was thinking to myself, this is looking a little bit on the small side. But you really didn't get an idea of just how tall it was going to be. It just keeps going. And these little roof pieces that go on the top are some of the best made Lego roofs I think I've ever built. They look so incredibly deceptively simple, but they really aren't. There's loads of hinge pieces in there, and all of these windows all tilt forwards, and actually the windows up here are what locks it into place because it goes just between those rounded tiles. And then on the side you've got these little tiles which stop it from rocking around too much. Looks absolutely great. And it's exactly the same on the other side, so of course you've got more windows which tilt forwards, and again held in by those rounded bricks at the top. And of course we'll just spin this around to have a quick look on the interior as well. I will say I'm a little bit less impressed with the interior of this one compared to the Honeydukes. I think it's just a little bit plain. I mean, you've got a few sticker details in there about the sort of menu of the day, the butterbeer, but this doesn't really feel like it should exist in the space that it's in. I know the effect they're going for with the really high ceilings and the chandeliers up there, but then you've just kind of got a lounge in the middle of nowhere with a fireplace and like some kind of throw or rug, and then the upstairs again just feels a little bit bare. You've got a tiny little bathroom, tiny little seating area, if you call it a seating area, it's a single chair, and then a couple of storage spaces again. I just think that I've built better interiors to smaller sets, if I'm being honest. So a little bit disappointed with the final outcome of the inside of this one. Doesn't detract from the front of it though. I still think this is absolutely stunning from the front. I don't think it's got quite as impressive a lineup of minifigures this time as the first few bags. I mean, I have no idea who these people on the left are. I probably should know. I could go and check the box. Sorry, you're clearly not well known enough in the franchise. But you do also get, of course, your classic Harry and Professor McGonagall as well. And assuming that you're capable of looking at things that aren't directly in the middle of the screen, you might also notice a little bit of change in this area. So of course previously we just had these white plates stacked up, but we've just started to integrate these a little bit more. And as I suggested last time, I wanted to get like a rounded seating area in this little corner here. And I think the overall look of it is really good. I'm quite happy with how I've done, especially given that I've only got these angled pieces in the one direction, because these were the only ones on the pick and build wall. They didn't have sort of the inverse of it. It is a little bit deep. I mean, if I grab Harry just for a moment, if I try and sit him down on there, you'll probably notice it's a little bit big for a minifigure, but we're going for the feel of it. It doesn't need to be perfectly accurate minifigure scale. Not for my purposes, anyway. If I just take Harry back off there just for a moment, I'll show you how this is put together. It's only a really simple build, but it ends up looking really effective with the pieces that I've got. So let me just grab the brick separator. I'll see if I can get in under here. There we go. So what you'll see is that we've got those sort of ball and hinge joints, and there's one in between each of the angled pieces, holding it all together. And then we've just sort of loosely tacked it on with a couple of studs on either side, just make sure that the Lego math works out. And of course, behind that, we've had to sort of reinforce the wall a little bit. It gives sort of a nice backing to the seating area as well. This piece is just in here loosely at the moment, because I don't really need to tack it down on either side. It will need a little bit of sort of joining up, and that's why I've just got the loose brick on the side of it as well. Because again, I've been really trying to limit myself just to the pieces that I could find on the pick and build wall. So these are things that I've picked up over the last few years. And yes, I could do an order online and go and get some things which are going to make it a little bit easier, but Lego's meant to be a creative process, and sometimes you just got to work with your imagination a little bit. And working with your imagination is what we'll have to do for a moment here. We've got a little grassy patch. I don't know whether I'm going to put a tree in there or maybe just a little bit of sort of like shrubbery or something. Definitely need a little bit of green in this area just to spark it up a little bit. And on this side, we've actually got the first entrance to the Winter Village. Well, when I say first, this will be the only entrance to the Winter Village because we have park constraints and space restraints. But really happy with how this one's looking at the moment. And again, I've used these exact same hinge and ball elements to be able to sort of sideways mount these gold railing pieces. I loved these ones when I found them on the pick and build wall. I knew that they were going to be a useful piece at some point. Wasn't quite sure what I was going to use them for. I have used them in the theme park already as some sort of cattle pen fencing, but really happy with how these look at the moment. And it's not going to take all that much just to put a couple of tiles on either side of there, just to make them match up as well. And of course what you'll see is that you've got, as I mentioned in the last video, this sort of dirt pathway moving up to the village. This is more like a well-trodden path where the carts come in and out. This is the main entrance into the village. And if you have a little look on this side, I've actually ripped this directly from the Hogsmeade Village set. So this is a little micro build for like a water fountain for the horse. And of course this was originally in front of the owl post, just sort of filling a gap on the street. But I think for my setup it works much better here. And I'll just pop Fudge back for a second. So obviously you'll see the horse is trying to make its way through. These gates do have a little bit of traction to them. They only open so far because we're just a little bit constrained by sort of where the plates are at the moment. I don't know if I'm going to fix that or if I'm probably just going to leave it, because I think for my purposes that's probably good enough. I'm definitely going to turn these into some sort of pillars or columns or something. I'm not sure whether I'm going to put an archway over the top. It very much depends on whether I've got sort of like a 12 wide arch in my inventory, which honestly I think is going to be pushing it. Not exactly the sort of piece that you see very commonly on the pick and build wall. But obviously at the back, we'll be able to merge this all in anyway. If you see where this white plate is here, this is going to be the edge of the final set in the Hogsmeade. And then this area here will just be a little bit of sort of rock work leading up to it. And honestly, I'm really happy with how this sort of corner of the village has turned out so far. I mean, I've got this cobble pathway, which I've extended. I think I'm going to keep this as plain white plates. I'm probably going to put a little bit more texture to it. I've got some more of the sort of white tile pieces, which I'm definitely going to put on there. But I don't want to detract and make it all grey, or this sort of like muddy grey and white piece.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not.
Sometimes you have to watch what you're doing with Lego. It can be a little bit delicate, especially these lamppost pieces. But we get to sort of the centre of town, and honestly, not a lot of stuff happening here. I just haven't had a chance to focus on this. I do know exactly what I'm going to put over here. You're going to have to wait for part 4 for that. I've only got 2 hands. I am building this as fast as I can, but I'm doing this on top of the full-time job. But if you watch my recent vlog, you might have an idea what's coming there. As I say, not an awful lot of stuff changing in the middle here. This is probably going to come with more of the details stuff. I might put a little bit more sort of greenery in here, but I'm quite happy leaving some spaces white. This is meant to be a winter village. I don't want to be ruining the snow cover just with loads and loads of green. But it's actually at the other end of the city where there's been 2 substantial changes from last time. If you remember, there was a 16 by 16 area that I wasn't quite sure what was going to fill it. I've had some suggestions. I know exactly what's going there now. We've started that. And also, I get to show you the surprise. So I've done a lot of considering, and I say there was a few suggestions that came through, and I think most of them were saying the exact same things. It needs to be some kind of shop front. So a shop front we are making, but with a slight bricks and trips twist. So taking some inspiration from the recent Arkham Asylum set, we have got an inverted corner that's being built in the Winter Village. This is very much just a shell at the moment. It's going to need so much more work to get it looking really good. But let me just pull it out of there and I can show you a little bit more of the detail. I do have to deconstruct the village every time I do one of these updates, which I love doing, but oh, it's hard work. And every time I move one of these buildings, I am so afraid that I'm going to drop it, I cannot tell you. But now we've got the art of chocolate set out of the way, let's try and get this out of the corner without ripping the entire thing apart. It is a little bit delicate, but it's very much sort of a work in progress at the moment. There's plenty more to be done. So as you'll see, I've pretty much built up the frontage at this point. I've still got to work out how to sort of fill this gap. I might just put another angled plate in there, but it needs to match up really well with what's already going on there. So it's really difficult to get the Lego maths right in that bit. And then, of course, I've built up this entire side wall. This is to add a little bit of rigidity to the model, but also because it goes onto the back of Honeydukes, I wasn't quite sure which bit would or wouldn't be visible when it actually got placed in the area. Of course, the other side is a little bit more ramshackle, so we had to use a little bit of plate, a little bit of the hinges as well, just trying to get it all to marry up as it should do at the front. But I would say that I'm actually really happy with how this joins up. Again, I've only got these angled pieces in the one direction, so I'm really glad that I've been able to get angles on both roofs and still match up the heights. And don't get me wrong, they're not absolutely perfect, but it's really worth remembering that Lego's about imagination, so if there's a little bit that's out with it, it's not the end of the world. And obviously, like I say, very much a work in progress on the back of them. Neither of the roof elements are actually held in place by all that much at the moment. There are a couple of hinges on either side doing God's work, keeping this thing upright and keeping those angles spot on. They will be a little bit more reinforced at some point, but right now they don't need it. There's only a couple of plates on there that will survive. And of course, I've left some 2 stud wide brickwork at the back. This will all be built up. We'll try to match it up with the roof height as well at the top. And then we'll probably try and put some chimneys on the top of it, just so it fits in a little bit more with the other Hogsmeade sets. So like I say, plenty of work to be done with that one just yet. But I think for a rough draft and to just sort of get it in place and understand what exactly I'm planning on doing with it, I think it looks really good. And like I say, it matches up really nicely with the shop fronts of the Hogsmeade as well. So we'll definitely do a bit of work matching it up and getting it to sort of feel right. One-handed. Art of chocolate moving. This is a bad idea. A really bad idea. Such a bad idea, in fact, I definitely wasn't doing it one-handed. Yeah, definitely was not going to try and put that back with one hand. I am not that much of an idiot. Despite what some people would say. I know that it's only a rough draft at the moment. There's plenty of work that needs to go on to sort of make it a little bit more complete. But for what it is, to fill the space, I think it looks really good. Speaking of filling a space, I told you I'd got an idea for this central area in the Winter Village. And it's come straight from our Winter Village from last year. We have torn apart the Alpine Lodge snowscape and we've stolen the ice rink. It's only really small. I would love to have made this bigger, but honestly, I don't have any of these panel pieces. I've got the clear ones, but I just don't think that they look as good. And even if I did make it bigger, where's it going to grow? I need more greenery on this side. I still need to join the cobblestone pathway up to the actual village on this side as well. So yes, I could strip out a little bit over here near to the tree, but I really like the sort of symmetry of it all over here. We have made some additions which weren't in the original set. So obviously this normally comes as a standalone piece. I've ripped it off, put it in, and then surrounded it by plates so it is not going anywhere. It's still sort of sideways built, but it's not moving. Of course, it did come with the original little bridge on this side, which I still think looks really good, but we're having a little bit of fun with it. So we've also built a little diving board on this side as well. I don't quite know at this point whether I'm actually going to stick a minifigure on there who's being brave enough to try and dive through the ice, but it's a magical village, I'm sure that they would heal. But we've got some pretty large steps at the back and just built up with, again, some of that sort of stone masonry work. I'll integrate this a little bit better once I know exactly how it's going to fit in with the other pathways, but again, for sort of like a rough draft, I think it looks really good so where it does. And for those of you thinking, that pool is nowhere big enough to be deep enough to have a diving board on it, it's magic, get over it. And I think it gives a really nice contrast to sort of the industrial sort of built up side over here to a little bit more of the natural front over this side. I will say though, I'm still looking for a little bit of inspiration behind the tree. I'm not 100% sure what needs to go there, but I think the space needs filling a little bit. I don't really just want to put loads of plants and little mini trees and foliage and stuff, but if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. Let me know down below if there's anything that you can think of. And that is Winter Village Part 3 all done. I genuinely can't tell you how happy with how it's going so far. It's so much time and effort to get it through. I mean, just the changes that you can see in here have taken about 7 or 8 hours this week, so it's a massive time investment. I think it's been worth every minute. If you liked part 3, go and watch part 1, go and watch part 2. It's a lot of trial and error. We're still working out as we go on this channel, but honestly, the progress that we've seen only in 3 weeks has been absolutely mega. Part 4 is probably going to be another week or so. I am getting through it as quick as I can, but again, I only have 2 hands, so please give me a break. Part 4 is definitely going to be a little bit more details oriented. So that shop front and the back, we're definitely going to be focusing on that, try and get that a little bit more to the way to complete. Maybe not 100% done, but maybe 80-90%. And I'm definitely going to have to start getting some foliage in here as well. It's looking a little bit bare still at the moment, and that's really starting to bother me. But I don't want to do foliage until I've finished all the actual buildings, all the bigger things that need to go in place first, because there's no point landscaping it and then having to rip it all off to start again. I am starting to think though that maybe my early to mid-November deadline was a little bit ambitious. But thank you again for watching. I really appreciate everybody who's liked, commented and subscribed in the last few weeks. It's a really great learning experience for this channel, and I can't wait to see what ideas you all have as well. If you are new here, make sure you hit those like buttons, make sure you hit subscribe as well. You don't want to miss part 4, it's definitely going to be a big update, maybe another week or so though. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Thanks, bye.